They told you to be kind, and you listened. You gave. And then you gave some more, until giving wasn't a choice anymore. It was who you were. You became the one everyone could count on. The one who never said no. The one who stayed late to help, who listened when no one else would, who forgave before the apology even came. And in the eyes of others, that made you good. But inside, it made you tired. No one warned you that kindness, when it has no edges, no walls, no limits, slowly dissolves the person it lives in. Because kindness without boundaries is not virtue. It's self-erasure. Carl Jung once wrote, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." And that's where most kind people get lost. They think kindness means denying their own needs. They confuse compassion with compliance and empathy with self-sacrifice. They forget that to truly accept yourself means to accept your own limits, to honor your energy, your emotions, your time. Think about it. How many times have you said, "It's fine," when it wasn't? How many times have you smiled through discomfort, just to avoid conflict? How many times have you stayed in a draining friendship or a one-sided relationship because you didn't want to hurt someone? That's not kindness. That's fear dressed beautifully, but hollow inside. Real kindness is not about pleasing people. It's about presence, respect, and truth. Sometimes it means saying no. Sometimes it means walking away. Sometimes it means loving someone enough to stop enabling their behavior. When your kindness becomes a cage, when your compassion becomes currency for acceptance, you lose your soul in the process. Because you can't pour from a cup that you've allowed everyone else to drain. You can't shine your light if you've forgotten where your own switch is. True kindness begins with you, with knowing who you are, and what you will no longer give away just to be seen as good. 1. Kindness will make you easy to control. The world loves a kind heart, but it also knows how to use it. You see, the one who always says yes becomes predictable. And predictability is the easiest thing to manipulate. You'll start noticing that people don't ask you, they expect you. They assume your time belongs to them. Your energy becomes a public resource. And you? You smile, you agree, and you wonder why you feel tired all the time. Because in truth, your kindness has made you a tool in someone else's story. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "A man should be upright, not kept upright." Yet many kind souls are kept upright by guilt, by pressure, by the fear of being unkind. Real kindness must have strength behind it. Otherwise, it's just obedience wearing a gentle mask. 2. Kindness will teach you to abandon yourself. When you give too much, something inside you begins to fade. Your needs start to feel like burdens. You start apologizing for your emotions, and slowly, your kindness turns into a quiet form of self-betrayal. Because deep down, you believe love must be earned through service. You think peace comes from keeping everyone happy. But that kind of peace is fragile. It cracks the moment you stop pleasing others. The truth is, you cannot pour yourself out endlessly without losing shape. You cannot be everyone's healer and remain whole. There's a quiet tragedy in those who confuse self-sacrifice with goodness. You'll call it compassion, but what it really is a fear of being unloved. 3. Kindness will make you invisible. When you are always the giver, you fade into the background of other people's lives. You become the one who makes things easier, smoother, softer, but rarely remembered. People love what you provide, not who you are. They praise your warmth, but they don't see your wounds. And one day you'll look around and realize you've been present for everyone. But no one has truly been present for you. It's a strange emptiness to be surrounded by people who adore the comfort you bring, but none who understand the cost. You think being invisible is humility, but it's not. It's the silent suffering of someone who's learned to disappear in order to be loved. 4. Kindness will blur the line between compassion and weakness. People can feel your empathy, but not everyone respects it. Some will see your gentleness as an invitation to take. They'll test how much they can push before you break. They'll use your forgiveness as a license to repeat the same harm. And you'll tell yourself, "I'm being kind," when in truth, you're just avoiding confrontation. Friedrich Nietzsche once said, "Beware that when fighting monsters, you yourself do not become a monster." But there's another danger too, that in trying not to become one, you become a shadow of yourself. You bend, you yield, you swallow every feeling just to keep the peace. But peace built on silence is just fear with a smile on its face. Real kindness does not bow to mistreatment. It stands tall, even when the voice trembles, because compassion without strength becomes a prison, and you are the one locking the door. 5. Kindness will make you fear your own power. There's a quiet truth about kind people. They're often afraid of their strength, because anger, boundaries, and self-assertion feel wrong to them. They were taught that power corrupts, that to be kind one must stay soft, small, and endlessly forgiving. But when you fear your own power, you give it away to everyone else. You let others decide what's fair. You let others choose when enough is enough. And so you remain trapped in a cycle of submission, calling it virtue when it's really fear in disguise. Carl Jung once said, "No tree, it is said, can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell," meaning, your light is only real if it can coexist with your shadow. True kindness requires knowing your capacity for cruelty and choosing not to use it. But if you deny that capacity altogether, you're not kind, you're defenseless. Your power isn't the enemy, your denial of it is. 6. Kindness will attract the wrong people. It's strange how the more generous you are, the more you attract those who take. It's not because you deserve it. It's because predators smell patterns. They recognize your reluctance to say no. They sense your need to be seen as good, and they use it. They don't want your love. They want your silence. They'll call you too sensitive when you notice the manipulation. They'll twist your kindness into weakness until you start to believe it too. And soon you'll find yourself explaining your worth to people who never intended to see it. Kindness, when unguarded, becomes a signal, a quiet invitation for those who seek control, not connection. But once you start valuing your peace over your image, that signal changes. The wrong people stop hearing you. The right ones start finding you. 7. Kindness will make you resentful. There's nothing pure about the anger that grows in a neglected heart. You'll keep giving, thinking it will heal you. But all it does is hollow you out. You start noticing how others take without thanks, how your efforts go unseen, and deep down, resentment blooms like rot beneath the floorboards. You'll smile anyway. You'll say, "It's fine." But your tone will carry the exhaustion of someone who's been too kind for too long. The tragedy is that resentment doesn't make you less kind. It just makes your kindness heavy. It turns every act of giving into quiet bitterness. Until one day, you wake up and realize you've spent your life teaching others how to love you wrong. You taught them that your boundaries are negotiable, that your forgiveness has no limits, that you will always understand, and in return, you receive only what you've trained them to give, just enough to keep you from leaving. 8. Kindness will cost you your truth. When you live to avoid hurting others, you start lying. Little lies, soft lies, polite lies that feel harmless, but corrode your soul. You say it's okay when it's not. You say don't worry about it when you're breaking inside. You say whatever you want until you forget what you want. And the more you hide your truth behind niceness, the further you drift from yourself, because truth requires friction. It requires the courage to be misunderstood, to be disliked, to be real. Nietzsche once wrote, "The individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe." That's what kindness often is, a struggle not to lose yourself to the tribe's expectations. So you smile when you want to scream. You nod when you want to walk away. You suppress the voice that says, "This is not who I am." But that voice never disappears. It waits. It watches. It aches for you to come home. Because kindness, real kindness, doesn't ruin your life. The version that demands your silence does. The kind that forgets your worth does. The kind that asks you to shrink so others can feel tall. That's not kindness. That's self-abandonment dressed as love. And if you've been there, you know how it feels to finally say, "No more." Not out of hate, but out of truth, out of self-respect, out of the quiet realization that protecting your peace is the most radical form of kindness there is. So now ask yourself, when did your kindness stop being a gift and start becoming a cage? When did your heart begin to mistake self-sacrifice for love and silence for peace? Think about it. Maybe it was that time you said, "It's fine," even when it wasn't. When you smiled through the ache just to keep the room calm. When you forgave not because they deserved it, but because you were afraid of what would happen if you didn't. You learned early that being kind made people stay, that if you kept giving you'd be safe. That love meant pleasing everyone but yourself. But here's the truth no one told you. Kindness without self-respect is not kindness. It's self-abandonment dressed as virtue. Carl Jung once wrote, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." And maybe that's what this is really about. The fear of disappointing others if you finally choose yourself. Because in real life, kindness often comes with a cost. You'll see it in the woman who never says no, until she collapses under the weight of everyone's expectations. You'll see it in the man who listens to everyone's pain, but has no one to listen to his. You'll see it in the friend who smiles at the table, then cries alone on the drive home. We call it compassion. We call it loyalty. But often, it's fear. Fear of being seen as cold. Fear of being misunderstood. Fear of losing love. And so we apologize for existing. We explain our no as if it's a sin. We did our light so no one feels small beside us. But every time we do that, something sacred inside us begins to fade. Because the world doesn't need more people who never say what they feel. It doesn't need more quiet saints burning out in the name of being nice. It needs people who can love deeply and protect themselves fiercely. People whose hearts are open, but whose souls are not for sale. Be kind, but begin with yourself. So be kind, but let that kindness begin with you. Let it sound like rest when you're exhausted from always being the strong one. Let it sound like saying no when your heart wants to please everyone but your body whispers, "Please stop." Let it look like walking away from conversations that drain your energy. Let it feel like forgiveness, not because they deserve it, but because your spirit does. Because real kindness isn't soft or passive. It's sacred discipline. It's the moment you decide to stop abandoning yourself for the comfort of others. It's when you realize that peace isn't found in keeping everyone happy. It's found in keeping your soul whole. Carl Jung once said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." And he was right. Because true kindness begins the moment you stop pretending to be who the world expects and start becoming who your soul already knows you are. Think about it. How many times have you smiled through pain just to keep the peace? How often have you carried someone else's storm while ignoring your own breaking sky? We call that kindness, but often it's self-abandonment dressed in compassion. There comes a moment when you realize you can't keep pouring from an empty vessel. You can't keep setting yourself on fire to keep others warm. And the world doesn't need your burnt-out light. It needs your real light, steady, centered and alive. So start small. Take 5 quiet minutes in the morning just to breathe. Turn off the noise. Say no without guilt. Say yes when your heart truly means it. Apologize to yourself for all the times you didn't listen. Then forgive yourself. Because every act of self-kindness you practice becomes a ripple of peace around you. When you learn to treat yourself with honesty and care, you stop enabling chaos. You begin creating order. You stop seeking approval, you begin embodying truth. And that's when kindness transforms from something you do into something you are. If this message stirred something inside you, that soft ache in your chest, that quiet recognition, that's not just emotion. That's your soul remembering its truth. Follow that feeling, protect it, live it. And if you'd like to keep walking this path of awareness, healing, and inner strength, subscribe. There's more waiting for you here. More truth, more clarity, more peace. Not the kind that silences your truth, but the kind that sets your spirit free.